All right. Hi. This is Brandon Starr, and welcome. This is CryptoBiography, episode 177, and it's MacKenzie and the Dolls. And I hope you enjoy it. It's a very short one episode story, and here we go. MacKenzie ran out of the house crying. She heard the yells and stumblings of her father somewhere behind her, but did not stop. She ran out of the house and through the garden. There was a little corner where the rabbit fence had been pulled up, and she knew she could get through it. She dove for it as though her hands were practically on her, though she knew he was still inside, drunk and angry. She wriggled on her belly, though she knew it would soil her dress, and she could feel her knees getting skinned. Then she rolled up to her feet and ran. She kept running. The foothills of the Cabinet Mountains started behind their house. She knew them well, even at her age, at least close by. She ran and ran. There was a hollow a ways away. The sun was going down, but she knew the way, and she didn't think her father knew where she would go. In the summer, she would play there, and it would feel like her own little world, safe and apart. She would play there all day sometimes. Her father never cared, never even asked her when she got back. Now it was cool. The October weather was in the process of changing, and it was going to be very cold indeed soon. But she didn't want to go anywhere else. She spared one look back at the spot where she knew, because she was at the top of a hillock, that she could see a bit of the backyard and the rabbit fence. It looked like nothing had changed. Her father had not followed her even outside the house. He doubtless had gone back to drinking. She continued on. The hollow was around a large boulder. It dipped like an almost perfect bowl, with trees lining the sides everywhere except where the boulder stood, like a group of curious onlookers. Inside, the ground was covered with sparse grass, which had dried over the summer. She sat down in the middle of the bowl and caught her breath. She soon was shivering. The sun was up out in the world, but here down in the hollow it was shady and cold. "I don't want to go back," she said aloud. "I can't help you there," she heard inside her head. "But would you like help knowing when you were in danger?" The voice seemed strangely familiar. Her mother had left them so long ago, she didn't know what she sounded like. Perhaps it was hers? "Yes," MacKenzie said. Something happened, and she wasn't sure what it was. All she knew is that she woke up in the hollow sometime later on, and the sky was dark. She was cold right down to her bones. She made her way back to her house. She was most scared when she got to the rabbit fence, but, teeth chattering, she got down on the frigid ground and crawled through it again. She got to the house and opened the door. Her father was asleep at the kitchen table, his head right on the wood, one arm flopping down, the other not quite cradling his head, which was turned away from her. A few inches from him was an empty quart bottle of vodka. He'd managed to go through it in 2 days. He raised his head and moaned. MacKenzie, though only a few steps away, did not back off. She knew that when he was this far gone, he would only look up for a moment and then put his head back down on the table and go back to his drunken sleep. Her father turned his head towards her. She gasped. He was looking at her, blearily, drunkenly, as she expected, but he was a doll. His eyes were made of glass, his skin was smooth and plastic, and his mouth was a line with 2 other lines coming down from it that allowed it to open. Yet it was him, too. He put his head down and his eyes sagged closed. His hands, she saw, were like a marionette's, wooden and hinged at the joints. She couldn't help it. She crept forward, horrified, fascinated. He woke up again and grabbed at her. She yelped and jumped back. His jointed fingers thrashed about. They grabbed the empty vodka bottle and flung it, unthinking. It smashed through the front window. The cold night air could be felt almost immediately. MacKenzie ran for her bedroom and shut the door. Half an hour later, police came through the front door. They popped it and entered. They saw MacKenzie's father passed out on the kitchen table and cold to the touch. They did a quick job of blocking the front window and found MacKenzie in her room. Then they took both of them to the police station. Her father slept it off in the drunk tank. MacKenzie was given a blanket and some cocoa and a corner of the waiting room. There wasn't anything better. The station was quite small. "Is there anything wrong with Daddy?" MacKenzie asked the receptionist. She wore a police uniform, was nearing retirement, and had rather thick glasses. "He's just tired," the receptionist replied. I know he's drunk, MacKenzie said flatly. He's drunk a lot. Did you notice anything strange about him? Strange in what way? MacKenzie just looked at her. If she hadn't noticed her father was a puppet, then it was something that only she could see. A few hours later, her father was waking up. Some new people came to the station. They were dressed like business people, MacKenzie saw. The third one was a doll. She was wearing a regular business dress, but she had the vacant glassy eyes and other features of a doll. MacKenzie didn't know what that meant. While the other two seemed to be doing paperwork at the receptionist, the third one came over and sat next to MacKenzie. Her glassy eyes looked at her, and her jointed marionette hand rested on her thigh. "We will take care of you, MacKenzie," she said. "No, you won't," thought MacKenzie. "That's right," the voice she had heard in the woods earlier said. "Don't trust the dolls. They will hurt you." "But Daddy's a doll too," she thought. "Yes, he is," the voice said. "Who are you?" MacKenzie thought. "I'm you, of course," the voice replied. "But you don't sound like me." "I'm you, but later on." "How are you doing this?" "You develop a power later on. You can send messages, alter little things to your younger self. I'm marking the people you need to watch out for as dolls." "They're scary." "Yes, I wanted you to notice them, and you'll meet more. If it's someone out on the street and they're a doll, get away from them." "Why not just talk to me more?" "I tried. I don't know why, but I can only talk to you now. Soon your ability to hear me will go away, but I'll be able to warn you with dolls." "Okay." "Remember, if you see someone out on the street who's a doll, get away from them straight away." "Why dolls?" MacKenzie asked. But she didn't hear from the voice again. And though her father was a doll, and others would be dolls, and she had no real help anywhere around her, it was inexpressibly comforting to know that she was alive, okay, in the future, and was able to help. And that's the episode. Hope you enjoyed it. It's a nice little short one this time. And if you have any comments or questions about this episode or previous episodes, CryptoBiography@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. And thanks for listening. Words and music copyright 2020, CryptoBiography LLC, all rights reserved. Characters and events are fictional, fictionalized, or satirical.